Hi guys, welcome back. So as we go into the rest week in the Rugby Championship, the question is, what sort of team should these nations pick? Now obviously they want to win their final round, but of course they're preparing for the World Cup as well, so they've got to balance it a bit. This is the table as it stands. New Zealand 2 wins out of 2, South Africa, Argentina 1 win each, Australia yet to win. Let's start with New Zealand. They're going away to Australia, who are struggling to find form, so they don't want to mess around too much, but I think they do have a good position now where they can try a few different combinations. The front row though, I'd keep those props the same, mainly because you can change props pretty early anyway, so I don't think you need to start anyone different. Plus they're getting extra caps. These guys aren't super experienced, although it seems like they've been around for a while already, but I'd start Ethan de Groot and Tyrell Lomax as the props again, and I'd have the youngsters on the bench, the mighty Tamaito Williams on one side on the loose head replacement, and Fletcher Newell as the tight head replacement. That will be exciting coming on. You know, the coaches can see how the game's going and decide how much game time to give them. Then at hooker, I think it's time to give Takiaho a start. He's really talented. You know I rate him. Coles has had a start and done well. Taylor's had a start and done well. So I think it's only fair. Taylor can go on the bench because I think he is the first choice. So that's a really strong front row with some exciting replacements. Into the second row, and because I'm changing a fair bit in the backs, I don't want to change too much in the engine room. The experienced Whitelock is going to come back in, but that's not really a change as such because he's very used to playing with Brodie Retallick. He'll be well rested over his injury, hopefully. So that's a really strong engine room. And maybe the youngster Josh Lord on the bench. Scott Barrett has been their best player, and I think it's worth putting him back to 6. See how he goes at 6. He's been great at second row. Frizzell can then drop to the bench. Now at open side, Sam Cane did pick up an injury. I don't know if he's going to be fit in 2 weeks' time, but they might want to rest him anyway. So it's either going to be Dalton Papali'i starting or Finau starting. It's a bit of a toss-up, but I think Papali'i's the next cab off the rank. So he starts at 7. We've got Frizzell on the bench covering the back row. And I think it's probably time to rest Ardie Surveyor. He's had a couple of starts. He's been great. No need to give him any more minutes. Just give the guy a rest. And let's give Luke Jacobson a go because he's been so good for the Chiefs this year. Let's see what he does at international level. I have high hopes for him. Now at halfback, I think Aaron Smith has proven everything he needs to prove. Reaffirmed his starting spot, so give him a rest. He's played twice. His number 2 Christie can start, and let's have the exciting Cam Roigard making his appearance off the bench, making his debut. That would be fantastic. We'll have the main man, I think, starting again at 10, Richie Mo'unga. Mackenzie can be on the bench. Into the centres, and Geordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane, well, they've got nothing to prove either. They're definitely first choice centres, so they need to try some others. So let's have Leonard Brown at 12, ever reliable, great defensive player, good all-rounder. And then Braden Ennor at outside centre. I think he's really taken his game up a level this year, and New Zealand need to find a backup 13. And maybe let's try Dallas McLeod on the bench, a bolter selection. He's a utility player, so let's see if he can cover centre and the wing. Now into the back 3, and I think at 15, Beauden Barrett has again nailed down his spot. He's first choice. Give him a rest as well. Who's his backup? Well, I think it should be Will Jordan. Just a great player. You could have Mackenzie there as well, but I think he's mainly there as a 10. So Jordan at 15, and let's have Fainga'anuku on one wing and Narawa on the other wing. Absolute firepower. I think those guys are real box office. I love to see them together with Jordan at 15. So quite a lot of changes in the backs, but I think it's worth playing around with because that pack's pretty solid and should give them plenty of ball. Now Australia are in a tricky spot. They really need a win for momentum, but they've got New Zealand coming to them, the form team at the moment, so a very difficult selection. This is how I'd go. I think they have to start Slipper and Alaalatoa as their props. They're their best props, and I think they have to start to stand a chance against that very strong scrummaging New Zealand unit. Slipper didn't have the greatest outing last time, but with Michael Hooper out, they need their skipper as well. Parecki's been solid but unspectacular, so I think you might as well change up the hooker. Into the second rows, Phillip, I think he needs a chance off the bench. They need to find a second row pairing. I don't think they've found it yet. I think Skelton is one of them. So let's pair up Phillip with Skelton. Could this one click? Richie Arnold, I think, dropping to the bench. Into the back row, which again hasn't fired. 6 is a big problem. Pete Samu, the ever ready guy on the bench, deserves a start. He's explosive, he's experienced. Jed Holloway can drop down to the bench. Fraser McWright can carry on at 7. He's been pretty good, to be honest. Valentini's been trying very hard, hasn't had the impact, but still by far their best 8. So I think that's the best pack I would put out. Now into the half-backs, and I think this game is just too challenging to rotate out their best 9. Their general, Nick White, so he stays. Tate McDermott is a good backup, so keep that the same. But at 10, I think they really need to change it. Quade Cooper's a bit of a shadow of the player he was. Carter Gordon is the talent. He's exciting. He's physical. I don't think they've got anything to lose there. So change it up. Give Gordon the start. He'll be excited. I think he's got that personality where he's just going to go for it. And Ben Donaldson, as many in the comments pointed out, is the third choice 10 in that group. Although I think such a shame that they've kind of chased out Lolosio to France. But anyway, let's see what he can do. Quade Cooper, I don't think, has done enough to play in this game, so give him a rest. So Gordon, Donaldson are the 10s. Centres is a problem because poor Icky Tau, got an injury. I think he broke his shoulder diving in for that try. Bit of a rugby incident. Someone trying to tackle him whilst he's diving. That's unlucky, but it's a bit of a problem. I think Feketi's the next cab off the rank, and you'd probably say move Karevi to 13, but he said he doesn't really want to play 13, which is an issue. But Karevi needs more minutes. He's not quite that player he was in 2019. How close can he get? I don't know. But keep him going at 12. Move Feketi to 13. I think that's the best choice there. Into the back 3, Coram Betty definitely starts on one wing, their best power finisher. Now Aquantuwazi was their best player on the match or on a one-man mission. He took some risks in the last game, but they all paid off. But he's an absolute menace chasing kicks as well. And at the moment, Tom Wright, I know he makes some clangers, but I think he's the best 15 available until Kellaway is back fit. So that's the team I go for. Let me know what you think. Now South Africa will certainly be disappointed that they didn't stand up to that first half blitz from the All Blacks, but they still got plenty from the game, I think, and they've got a great chance to finish at home really strong against Argentina. How would I go with the team? Well, I think there is still room for things to try. Oxenche, if he's fit, probably would be a starter with Kitsoff coming on. So if he's fit, I would start the Ox. But Thomas du Toit is a great player as well. All three are great options. So Oxenche or Thomas du Toit to start, and then du Toit Kitsoff coming off the bench. Now, Mbonambi is probably their starting hooker. He's a really good scrummager. Hasn't had the best 2 games, to be fair, but Marks has been really good, and they do rotate their hookers anyway. So I think this is just time for one of those rotations. It's going to be Mbonambi and Marks in some combination as their starting hookers anyway, as their hookers in the 23. But give Marks the start. I think he deserves it. Tight head, again, Malherbe's played twice, wasn't the best last game. So again, rotate for freshness there. Koch in, he won't let you down. And I think it's worth trying something else in the second row, not because Etzebeth and Diaga shouldn't start. They've just got such great options in the second row. Jean Klein was really good in that first game, and Snyman's been so impressive. Sure, you might want to save him for the bench, but I just want to see what he does from the start. So Klein and Snyman in the second row, that's a nasty second row, and the youngster Ori can be on the bench, I think. I'll put Pieter-Steph du Toit back into blindside. Mostert had a go. Really wasn't anything on Pieter-Steph du Toit, so give Pieter-Steph du Toit the shirt back. Those two can kind of swap around if they want. Van Staden, I'm giving the start at 7. It's pretty close between Van Staden and Smith, but Van Staden was amazing in that first game. Smith covers really well on the bench with the 6-2 split, so he is on the bench. And at 8, Vermeulen, Wiese have had starts. Wiese wasn't the greatest last game. Vermeulen's been involved in 2 games, so I don't think he has to get involved again. Wiese could do with getting a bit more game time, but I want to see Evan Russ. I think he's got such talent. Many maybe don't quite trust him, but then I'd say Jasper Wiese has been a bit of a penalty machine in the past as well, so let's see what he does. Evan Russ, nothing to lose. Go for it. At 9... let's go Grant Williams. He's been the most impressive scrum half so far. Faf de Klerk didn't have a great game. Reinach was okay in the first game, kicking a bit off, but let's give Grant Williams a go. See if he can put some pressure on Faf de Klerk to start. Now, without Pollard, assuming he's still injured, Libbok definitely starts. I think we saw that Willemser is your backup 10 if needed. So let's have him at 23. He's the perfect number 23 because he covers everywhere. Centres, Deolandi just looks a little bit shot. I mean, he's still fairly solid, but Esterhuizen just looked unbelievable in the first game. Let's see if he can back it up. So put Esterhuizen with Am. I don't think there's an alternative to Am, and I think he needs the game time anyway, so it makes sense. Now into the back three, and I think South Africa could do with trying a different 15 just to see who the backup to Leroux is. Leroux can be hot and cold. Wasn't the greatest last game, but I think he still starts. But let's try Colby as the backup. Obviously, he's got a good kicking game, but he's got an amazing running, counter-attacking game as well. And then if you have Mapimpi again, who I think could do with another run out. Looks a little rusty, could do with some time, but he is class. And then Kurtley Arends on the other wing. That's a great back three. Leave Leroux alone, let him have a rest, see how these guys go. Let me know what you think of that South African team. Now with Argentina, I think it's pretty simple. They've got a very tough assignment to beat South Africa, but they've got nothing to lose. They got that big win against Australia, but I don't think they can experiment too much, or they could get absolutely panned and have their confidence shot. So I think they go in with their strongest team and give it a crack. So no real changes apart from I'm putting Bruni back into 8 from the bench and putting Grondona back on the bench, and that is it. Give them a crack as they are. And who knows, maybe they could do something special. Anyway, guys, that's what I would do for the final round of selections for the Rugby Championship. What would you do? Comments below, and I'll catch you next time.